Hello, everyone. We're just going to be starting about 15 minutes. Oh, hi, Candace.
Hi.
This is such an interesting platform. I feel like I'm seeing Zoom for the first time or something. Let me see, Shannon. I'm trying to add you. Oh, there we go. A little bit of an echo there.
Is that better?
Ping Ronell.
Is that better?
That is a lot better.
Okay, cool.
Great. Okay. Welcome, everyone. We still have about 10 minutes before we formally start. But if anyone just watched our previous panel, Starting Your Journey, feel free to let us know, or in the chat, let us know where you're watching from.
I go.
Ooh, it's cold. It might be a little warmer in Chicago today. I don't know. Heard it was 20 degrees and not -8.
It felt like Florida was the only warm place in the United States for like a week. And I can hear myself.
Well, you're not echoing, if that's helpful. But I know that's distracting when you're speaking. Oh, awesome.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome, everyone.
Oh, no. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay. One sec. I'm putting my headphones.
Awesome. So we're going to formally start in about 10 minutes. So if people are joining, feel free to say where you're joining from in the chat, maybe some other panels or sessions you checked out earlier today. So, all right. And if anyone on the panel needs to get some water or anything. Was anybody else able to join a session or watch any of the other things, or did everyone just come straight from another Zoom meeting?
Combination.
Yeah.
Just trying to spend a lot of time hopping, working. Like I literally created a new account 5 minutes ago.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm glad you're here and figured it out, because an hour ago my computer also did a shutdown thing in the middle of the other panel, and I'm like, well, I'm glad I don't have to speak in that one. Ooh, watching from San Francisco. The sun finally came out. Yeah, it's good. It's been a rainy morning. Oh, we have someone from Portugal.
Hello.
Hey,
Shannon, can you disconnect your headphones from the system? Yeah, just disconnect completely. I've been having issues with headphones this week.
Oh, sure. I take mine out too.
If your AirPods are working, if you don't have any issues, you're fine.
Okay.
I think I know Ronelli emailed you, but Shannon might be okay now. Oh,
You're on mute right now, Shannon.
Looks like you're double muted.
Okay, he went out. It's gonna come back in.
Is that better?
It's still bouncing. Do you have multiple Hopin tabs open? I saw that you made 2 accounts. Do you have multiple window tabs? Delete one of them.
I think that was it.
All right, you guys are good. All right,
Thank you.
bye now.
And I work for technology. Wow.
You know, that's always it though. It's because you work in technology, it means that you maybe overthink a system. So
Now I don't hear myself. My ears.
same. Oh, we have someone from Portugal. Nice.
Everybody.
Sorry. 408.
7 o'clock p.m.
Yeah, I'm over on the West Coast as well with Cheyenne. So all right. We're going to start in about 5 minutes. As people join, again, feel free to say where you're coming from. We'll probably get an influx of people in 5 minutes. But for all of our panelists, feel free to interact with the chat as we're talking. So Shannon, you already kicked off and did that. So feel free to do that as well. And as we said previously, definitely feel free to also ask each other questions as they come up. This is, you know, an informal chat. A lot of people have good questions. I know there was someone who in the previous starting your journey chat I thought was interesting, asking how you chose your college because that is a difficult decision that weighs heavily on many minds right now. So definitely something to think about too that we may discuss here as well. And also for anyone joining, there's a poll open, so you can sort of say what you're interested in, what you're looking for here at the expo. So definitely don't hesitate to fill that out if you haven't already. I love how we have some college booth shout outs in the chat. So that's awesome. The virtual booths are such a cool idea. Someone asked, what's everyone's favorite color, if anybody? I know I see people responding in the chat to that, so lots of blue.
Blue is one of those colors. I know every color, you know, has different ranges, but you got sky blue, royal blue, navy blue, turquoise, which I think is actually green, so that won't count, but just covers so much.
Blue is okay. Oh. Oh, fun fact, blue is actually one of the last colors detected by the human eye. Thank you, Candace, for that. That is- Another plug for today, we're going to have two chat moderators, Allie and Nicole from Disney Recruiting, answering quick questions as they come up. So if you have questions about things that come up in the panel or about internship programs, they'll definitely be answering those in the chat. So I'll say for those of you on the East Coast, I'm envious of your end of Friday workday. So that's after this, I'm excited to look more into the different sessions and booths and stuff, but it's still feels like
that before signing on.
We're kind of a mix because even though I'm on the East Coast, my team is on the West Coast. So I
oh,
West Coast schedule.
oh my gosh. Hopefully that means that your mornings are quiet though.
Yeah, I probably like I got to watch WandaVision this morning, like before work. So that was perfect for me.
Oh, nice. How far into it are you? Or is the episode?
I can't no, but no, I watched every episode so far. Yeah, I watched all of them so far.
Okay. All right, so we're right at that like 1 minute mark. I get antsy, so I'm going to kick us off because I have a little bit of intro, and then people will be joining in the next minute or two. Another reminder for those joining: if you go to session and then chat, feel free to tell us, where you're coming from, any questions you have for our panelists. They'll be jumping into the chat as well as we speak, as well as our two chat moderators. So welcome everyone to the Charting Your Course former Disney intern panel. My name is Lauren and I represent Lucasfilm Recruiting, who's supporting Cross Studios, also a former Disney intern. So I love hearing these stories so much. And today we're gonna talk to all of our panelists about their continued Disney stories and learn more about internships. Here's some practical advice on how to make the most of those opportunities that await you. So I'll start off with just a general introduction of everyone we have here. So if you're a panelist, just want to give a wave when I say your name. So we have Kari Austin Rawls, currently a senior manager on the ESPN Plus marketing with Disney streaming services. He's been with the Walt Disney Company since graduating from college in 2016, and he's based in New York. Next, we have Cheyenne Chappell, a Seth's dressing model, TD. Cheyenne graduated from Texas A&M University with a BS in visualization and a minor in architectural history, and in 2018 was a Pixar undergraduate program TD intern. Currently, Cheyenne has been at Pixar since June 2019, where she returned to intern/resident as a sets modeler and dresser on Soul. Currently, Cheyenne is a set dresser on the upcoming film Lightyear and previously Luca, where she helps create the worlds that the characters live in. Almost 2 years in animation, she looks forward to spreading her passion for sets and animation to everyone. Candace Mascal is the associate producer at ABC News, and Good Morning America, an alumni of Hampton University. Shannon Williams is a software engineer for Disney streaming services. Shannon currently works remotely from Florida, but was born and raised in Detroit. So starting off, each of our panelists is going to share a bit more of their story, their journey, and let's start off with Kari.
Sure, happy to start off. Hi everyone, my name is Kari Austin Rawls. We already gave the big thing in terms of where I was from, New York. That's where we usually start off. But when I was in your shoes, when I was in high school, I had a ton of interests. So that's kind of the big theme that I want to talk through today is you can have a lot of different interests and still find your way through college and for sure find a career. So in high school, I loved AP chemistry, loved AP world history, loved tennis, also loved to volunteer as well. So it was a ton of different things, obviously a lot of different things under that as well. And then from there, I went to the University of Pennsylvania, studied international relations and East Asian languages and civilizations, which I like to tell people is a mouthful. And then after that, well, during college, I picked up a few different interests, but also kept a lot of the ones that I had in high school. So I remained interested in history. And so that's something that I was able to pursue through my two majors. Loved to volunteer, still did that a ton throughout my entire time at Penn. And then outside of that, I found a few other interests as well. So I became really interested in the media and entertainment business. So as you think about your life, I'm sure you can think of moments when media has had an impact on you, whether it's a TV show, movie. So we all usually typically love the content, but the business side, we don't always pay as much attention to. So when I got exposed to it, I was like, I love all of the different aspects of it that I just didn't know as much about. And so from there, I started going down this really, really fun rabbit hole. Sometimes it can be like a Wikipedia black hole, they say. And one day I just started learning more about the Walt Disney Company. And everything that I learned, I was like, I've got to see if I can get there after college. Didn't really necessarily connect to my major, but I still wanted to find a way. And so I participated in a program called Management Leadership for Tomorrow when I was as a sophomore in college, actually. And it was actually an amazing experience in that I got the opportunity to interact with companies from honestly around the world, but a lot of them were national companies as well here in the US. And luckily enough, got to interact with Walt Disney Company recruiters. And from there, I just started to talk to them about a bunch of different things. That's when my love for tennis came up in terms of me being able to talk about ESPN, my love for China and Chinese history came up because the Shanghai Disney Resort was about to open the next year. And then my love for movies came up as well. So we talked about the Disney Studios. So it was a really, really nice mix of all the things that I talked through and loved in high school and early in college. And from there, I got the chance to interview for a bunch of different roles as an intern at ESPN. And then got lucky enough to get a role at ESPN in their market research group. And the internship was totally surprising to me in that not only did I get to learn a lot and meet a lot of people, I got to accomplish a lot too. The team really gave me the opportunity to tackle work that a full-time employee would have tackled and to present that work to stakeholders and leaders across the company. And so by the end of my 10 weeks, I felt like I had really done a lot. I had real technical skills that I could tout and take on to my next role. And I'm saying lucky enough a lot in this one, just because sometimes you really do feel like there's been some luck in the journey. And so for me, about a month afterwards, after my internship ended, I was invited to come back to the Walt Disney Company as a full-time employee. And I've been here ever since, pretty much a couple of weeks after I graduated from Penn in 2016. And I hit 5 years in May. I was in the market research group for a little over 3.5 years. And then I moved to Disney Streaming Services, which is the home for Disney Plus and ESPN Plus. You guys may or may not know one or two or both of those. Two streaming services that we're really proud of. I work on ESPN Plus specifically and work on the marketing side, so driving acquisition and engagement. So that's my Disney journey thus far, but excited to talk to you all further about everything else.
Awesome. Cheyenne Chapel.
Hey y'all, hope everything's going well. So when I was in high school, I think like many people, I started out with a love of like, or a lot of people that do animation, I started with a love of like anime, gaming, and art. And those are like the driving forces for what I wanted to do in life. And it was actually in high school where I got to find out about the program that I ended up going to, which was the visualization program at Texas A&M from an alumni from my school, the school. And so like at that point in life, I was just like kind of this like confused girl at the point where I'm like, I don't know what I actually want to do with life, but I knew I wanted to do art. And that's something that I know is not necessarily like celebrated to do as a career path, but I knew that was what my heart wanted to do. So I ended up applying and getting into A&M, and I actually didn't get into the visualization program. I actually ended up getting into architecture degree track at A&M for my first year. And like, you know, like that's something that I think a lot of people, when they see that first couple of failures and not being able to get into what you want to initially, it kind of like stalls your plans and makes you feel like you're not going to, your whole life is not going the exact way that you want to go. But I think like it was, for me, it was the best thing because it ended up teaching me what I wanted to do in life, which was create environments and not architecture, because architecture got too much responsibility behind it. But environments for animation is something that I think a lot of people see on the screen and don't necessarily like, you see it and it gives you this feeling and passion, and it brings the whole world together. So after applying to get into the visualization program, after being in architecture my first year of college, I ended up attending a talk from Pixar, which was a talk with the alumni from A&M and the recruiter. And that's where I actually really got to see and find out what animation is and how people create animated films. And it was a talk about The Good Dinosaur at the time. So like if you've seen The Good Dinosaur, you know like how incredible those environments are. Like it was just so exciting to see that, and seeing someone from seeing a POC and a woman from my school, it was just so inspiring because you don't really see that. Like when you're growing up, you don't think that these people occupy those spaces. But that was where I learned about environments, specifically set creation at Pixar. And I also learned about the Pixar undergraduate program that they do each year for interns and for college students to be able to learn about the animation field in itself. And so I applied, didn't get it the first time I applied actually, but that set that spark for me to be able to really focus on what I wanted to do, which I think set my path to go to SIGGRAPH, which is a conference for all types of technologies and animation. And it's just a real great place because you get to see firsthand like what these animation and VFX studios and technology companies create and do firsthand. And it was there where I really got to like have my first shot at talking to professionals and meeting the people that are behind the scenes, creating the work that inspired me to when I was a kid. And so after that, I was able to apply the next year and land the Pixar undergraduate program internship. And like Kari was saying, it's like a 10 to 12 week internship where I got to like meet all the professionals behind all the films that we love to see. And the unique thing about the PUP program is that you are able to try all these different aspects of the pipeline in animation, which really diversifies what you're able to learn and do. And it really allows you to have a really great floor to just try whatever you want to do. And so that was like my first little stint in the getting into the animation industry. And so the pub program is only available to freshmen to juniors. So it's really great for people that are really trying to learn exactly what they want to do with animation. And so you have to return back to school. So I returned back to school, and the next year I spent the whole year working towards coming back to Pixar because I knew that was something I really wanted to do. And so after I graduated in 2019, I ended up returning back to Pixar to be a set modeling and dressing technical director on Soul. And it was an internship at the time. So on that, I got to work a lot with the whole team, working with the directors and all the team, and helping to craft that film and make it what it is today. And now, since then, I've been at Pixar for about almost 2 years. And I'm currently working on Lightyear and just finished working on Luca, and I'm excited for all the things that we have to talk about today.
Awesome, thank you. Candace.
Hi, everyone. My name is Candace Mascal. I'm from Dayton, Ohio, born and raised. So I'll go in chronological order as well. So in middle school and high school, books, reading, and writing were everything for me. I love to read, write my own stories, write my own fictional stories. I would write short little stories for my friends, and we would circulate it around school. And I was like, this is my passion. This is what I really want to do. I want to be an author. And so I was thinking like, well, what am I going to do to make money while I'm writing my books? I need something that's actually going to get me paid. And I was like, well, journalists tell stories too. So I took a journalism class in high school, and I really loved it, but that had only scratched the surface. And so when I was looking at colleges, I knew I wanted to go to a HBCU, and I had heard great things about Hampton University's J School, and they're also a Scripps school as well. If you're not familiar with Scripps, they do all the national spelling bees. They actually own a couple of local stations across the country, and I think they own like some network cable shows as well. So I went to Hampton University, and the great thing about that school is journalism school. Disney Day, where they actually send recruiters and people that work in the industry to come and talk to us. So they'll look over our resumes, we can do interviews, we can get in touch with them. And so when we apply for internship opportunities, we'll just reach out to the people that we connected with on Disney Day and say, hey, I applied for this internship, look out for my application, let me know if there's anything else I need to do. So for me, I took advantage of that and actually applied for an internship at the Washington, D.C. Bureau for ABC News. And at first I was a little scared because you've probably heard about internships being like glorified coffee runners, go pick up dry cleaning for maybe the anchors or something like that, go get lunch for people. And ABC is a huge company, part of the Walt Disney Company. And so I went in a little bit nervous and thought I wouldn't really be doing any real work. Wrong. They gave me credentials to go to the White House, to go to Capitol Hill, to go to the Pentagon, all those major DC buildings that you could think of. And sometimes I went by myself with my notepad and my pen, and they said, hey, this politician's supposed to speak here. Can you go take notes for us for a story? You write the story for digital, getting bylines as an intern on ABC to this day. And even some of the more fun things I got to do. One thing I really took away from that internship was covering the March for Our Lives protests down in Washington, D.C. So I was with a correspondent, a camera guy, a sound guy, and a producer. And I was like, wow, this is what I want to do. I want to be in the throes of it, talking to real people, forget fictional stories. Let's tell some real stories. And so that's really when the love of journalism took over for me. I was able to use that experience to apply for a second internship. The great thing with Disney is you can apply as an undergraduate current student. You can apply after college. Both of my internships were after college. So I applied for a second one with ABC News Nightline. I'm not sure if you guys watch Nightline. It comes on at like midnight. But now I got to learn how an actual show worked. So how to write scripts, how to cut video, how to order graphics, things that go into making a production. And I used that experience to network, That one was in New York. Most of the shows are based in New York. Good Morning America, World News Tonight, Nightline. I think the only one is this week with George Stephanopoulos is in DC. But all the executive producers were there. So I was running around the office. Hey, I'm Candace. I graduated. I need a job. I need a job. I need to get hired. And eventually got an interview with someone that works at Good Morning America, and they hired me. And I started out as a production associate, and now I'm currently an associate producer at Good Morning America. I interview all kinds of people during the day, whether it's, civil rights activists or attorneys like Ben Crump, whether it's people that were stranded on a desert island for weeks and weeks on end and survived. I tell a different story every day, and it's amazing. So, that's my story.
Awesome. And rounding us out, Shannon Williams.
All right, hey everybody. So I was actually born and raised in Detroit, as Lauren mentioned. And in Detroit, the opportunities for Disney that wasn't something we even thought about, honestly. It was really either sports or, working at one of the factories for the automobile industry. So my story's kind of different a little bit here. So I started off as a child just loving art. Everything art. I always used to draw. There was a contest called the I Like Me contest as a child. Every single year we would have drawing contests, and I took it really seriously. And eventually, when I got to high school, everything got more serious. So I went past drawing, and I wanted to start doing graphic design, video editing. I was a tattoo artist at some point in time in high school, and even clothing lines. Like I would design a lot of clothing. And I was making a little bit of money here and there. I would do highlight tapes and make like $30, but it wasn't anything sustainable. And I knew I loved video games. Like I always played video games, but I never actually played the video games to play them, if that makes sense. I was a content creator. So if they had a creation suite, I would go and spend all of my time creating stuff. So the Detroit Pistons were the champions in 2003 to 2004. So I recreated that entire roster as well as their opponents just for myself to, just look at all the time. And I never even played with them. So I really realized early that I like video game design, but I didn't know how to do video game design. I knew nothing about it. I didn't know even where to start. And I kind of just jumped into it one summer. I was selling shoes and I wasn't really making any money in the college that I was at. And I decided, hey, you know what? Let me go ahead and try to figure out as much as I can on making a video game, because the college I was at, they didn't have the degree program I wanted. And I really just wasn't happy. So I spent an entire summer and learned how to make my first 3D character. And that's where I really got started, where I really started gaining some traction. So from there, I think I created like 20 or 30 3D character models for a fighting game I was working on at the time, put them all on my resume, and applied for a mortgage company internship in Detroit. And it was a paid internship. So a lot of you know internships for the most part, not for the most part, some of them are not paid. But the ones that do pay typically pay pretty well for internships, I would say. So I did get an internship as an instructional designer. I knew nothing about what that was. It was really just me taking PowerPoints or taking Microsoft Word documents and making it more easily digestible for people to learn from. So that was really my start, was me just hopping into a career I knew nothing about. And eventually it was literally a year of doing that. I said, hey, I really want to do video games. You all told me you wanted to bring me on to start trying to gamify or add gamification to the learning process. So when can I, really get that opportunity? Like, let me take a shot at it. And at that moment in time, they were like, okay, you know what? Take a week, build a game, show us what you got. And that was it. Like once they said, and I kind of talked too much because I didn't know what I was doing at the moment in time. So that entire week I was up to like 2 a.m. every night trying to figure out how to build a simple game. And after building that game, they loved it. And they said, that's your full-time position now. Just build games for training teams. And we went from there. And eventually I reached out and networked with our marketing folks and said, hey, could we start building games for public-facing campaigns? So we had something for Infinity War when that movie came out as a partnership, something with the NCAA for the mascots and Snapchat, and then a couple other things that it really just came from constantly basically getting on people's nerves with networking. Like, hey, we can do work. Do you have work that we can do? Can we just sit in on meetings and see what the idea is for what we're trying to get at? And so long story short, I was there for 6 years while I was still working on my college degree at Full Sail University. So I switched degree programs in the middle of my career because they offered tuition reimbursement at the time. And from there, I moved from Detroit to Florida. So this was 2019. It feels like it was just last year, but this was 2019. So I came out for my graduation in Florida to walk the stage at Full Sail, and it was a feeling I got. Like I walked outside and it was palm trees, not snow, not dirt, not garbage, and I'm like, it was this feeling I can't really explain where I was like, I have to be here. So I literally went back to Detroit. Told everybody in my family, hey, I'm moving to Florida. They're like, oh, okay, that sounds good. When? I'm like, in 2 months. They were like, oh, really? I'm like, yeah. So myself and my wife, she's my wife now, but we drove 17 hours from Detroit all the way here. No job, nothing. Didn't know what we were gonna do. And I instantly, right when we got here, just started networking, just reaching out to people. Went up to Full Sail University, met with the VP, like, hey, I just moved here. If you have any opportunities for me to meet people, not even asking for a job, but just for me to meet people and show what I can do, I would love it. And he offered me a job on the spot. And I was just, it was a crazy process because I was 2 weeks into that job where I would have been on the phone helping college students get into Full Sail University. And then Disney called me with this opportunity that I applied for. Completely forgot I applied for it because I didn't take it serious that Disney would even consider me at that moment in time, and got my first internship at Disney World. So I was at Disney World for 3 months. COVID hit, affected everyone, and they cut the entire internship program off for a second. And I remember Stephanie Magana, who she's actually on one of the panels as well. She was my recruiter, my original recruiter. And she told me, hey, I'll keep your information in mind in case anything opens back up. You know, the whole spiel at that moment in time, you're not really trying to hear it. You're like, man, I just want to, find some work. And they actually called me back like 3 months later for a Disney Plus position, which I'm currently working for Disney Plus now. And I'm in Disney streaming services, but working on Disney Plus. So that internship started in September, and in December, I actually needed to make a decision on if I'd be able to stay an intern or try to find a full-time position. I reached out, found someone hiring on a team, same exact type of work, just on a completely different team, and reached out and sent over a cover letter answering every single point that they put inside of the offering, the job offer. And I literally went through and was like, hey, I'd be a good fit for this, good fit for that, good fit for this, experience here. And within like 2 weeks, I was transitioning from my internship to that team. And that's where I'm at now. So I know, we kind of got to get past some things. So I'll save the rest for a little later.
That's awesome, though. And I think that could transition to what has been a theme with a lot of all of the stories you've shared, is that either at some point you knew exactly what you wanted and you had to change course because life wasn't working out that way, and then you were able to sort of navigate back, or alternatively, you didn't know exactly what you wanted and just kind of ended up where you are because of your relationships or your mentors. I'm curious if, again, just casually, if anybody wants to jump in with some reflections for students that may either have a really strong idea of what they think their career path is or their college path is, and for those that may not.
Advice would to be just start with what are you passionate about? Like what sparks joy for you? I know when like Cheyenne was talking, she was like animation was her thing, anime and things of that nature. Like I was a fan of all of those things as well. I just liked hearing a good story. So I think if you're still trying to like parcel out, like, what do I like to do? If it's sports that you like to do, what aspects do you like? Do you like the business side of it? Do you like the television side of it? So I would just encourage you for your passions first, because I don't think it would be a great idea, trying to start a career in something that you don't even like in the first place.
And just to piggyback on Candace, I would say don't take it too seriously when you're in college. Like I know for myself personally, I think I switched degree programs like 5 or 6 times, and I still don't even work in the field that I got my degree in. So it's honestly just really just try your best and keep applying yourself at home and outside of school. So even though I got a degree and, everything went well with my college, I actually got most of my careers or job opportunities based on stuff I did at home. not even what I did in school. So I would just say, stay diligent with improving yourself at home and constantly just trying to work on yourself.
Go that like 1,000%. Like all my work that got me to like Pixar, like the like floor to know what I could do was what I got from school, from A&M, but taking that to where I wanted, how I could get a job, that was something that you kind of have to find and search on your own and really see like soul searching what you want to do with life. And, like I know people that have went to the schools that don't even like have an animation degree or an art program for that matter, and they're one of the best animators that I know at the studio. Like they're a communications major and literally at the studio. Like, come on, anyone can, like, if you really put your time and effort into it, that's really what it's about.
Oh. I think it's that awkward, like, you unmuted yourself.
it was like, oh, sorry.
Keep going.
On that note as well, like that it's a similar thing with school. I think a lot of people, like I'm gonna speak for the animation track, but a lot of people see that when you like if you want to get into animation, you have to go to this school, you have to go to this program because these are the only avenues that you have to get into certain degrees or certain professions. And like what kind of Shannon was saying, like Shannon and Kari, like they both like ended up doing like degrees like that necessarily weren't tailored to like what they wanted to do. And also like there's like you always get some type of experience from anywhere that you want to go. And I think that's something, there's something special about going to a school that isn't necessarily like a pipeline straight to animation or something, you know? So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, great points. And I know you also mentioned a bit of, sorry, you sort of starting one way and then you actually talked to recruiters and that was sort of your entry point into the Disney internship opportunities. And even from everyone on this panel, you all had such different internships and different intern experiences across this broad company. I'm curious for those looking for internships or applying to internships, what helped you along your path in finding the internship that was a good fit, or advice you had or were given at the time from your school?
Okay, so talking internships, honestly, a lot of the internships just kind of arose. Like they kind of popped up. Like I didn't go actively looking for internships in specific fields. However, actually a lot. The first internship I got with Disney was for a video game development position for Disney World at Epcot. And I do remember typing in video game development, internships, opportunities, all of that stuff. And that's how I popped it up. But I would definitely say, try to stay off. Like, I'm not trying to go against other brands, but there are websites like Indeed and ZipRecruiter and different sites like that. But a lot of times they don't have the positions that you might be looking for. So all of the positions I applied for were not on those sites. Like even when I typed in Disney, I had to go directly to Disney's website and find those internships. So I would definitely say if there is a company that you want to work for, if it's Disney, make sure you go to Disney's site and look there and see if the opportunities are listed there, because sometimes they might not be everywhere else.
One thing I would add to that is research is so important. You're in high school now. I think a lot of people on this panel or people who are watching are in high school, so it may not resonate as much. But when you do get to that point, you start thinking about internships. You want to start by first thinking what particular companies you might be interested in, what functions, what roles. And once you do that research, and won't be 100% exhaustive, because the best way to learn is when you actually get in there and do the work and talk to people within the company. That at least from the outside, you can start to do that preliminary research. And then what I found was the next step. I got a bit lucky in that I was in that program, Management Leadership for Tomorrow. So I jobs just on Disney's job board anymore. I was applying to like specific ones that were for people in the program. So they like helped surface a ton of job applications, or at least internship applications, that I wouldn't have found on my own, honestly, because I was still trying to figure out what part of Disney and what role I wanted to be in. I didn't have dreams of being a market researcher to start, that's for sure. But what I found was there were several ones when I did interview with people, and they didn't think I was the best fit, honestly. But what they did do, and what I took the opportunity to do, was, as we talked through, ask them a ton of questions about the company, about their role. And it's funny, I actually still have the notes I took back in 2014 when I was doing those interviews. And I was reading them recently, about a month or two ago, and I took like really detailed notes about everything they told me. And that helped inform my journey and helped inform what roles I wanted to take afterwards. So talking to people is key across the entire journey.
I would just add, whatever college or university that you choose to go to, take advantage of, the special days that they have where they bring the companies to you and you don't have to seek them out. So I would just encourage, just for example, at Hampton University, like not only did we have Disney Day, but we also had Fox come and talk to us. So that was FX and all the programming that had to do with that, Fox Sports. NBC Universal would come. So I wasn't essentially like heart set on ABC. I went to all the seminars, asked all the questions, asked them, how important is diversity and inclusion to your company? What does growth look like? What does career development look like? How else can you support me in this role? Because I think when you're looking for a place that you want to work, I think it should be transactional, because not only are you benefiting them, but how can these companies benefit you? If I want to pursue higher education, what kind of opportunities do you offer for that? So when these colleges bring these big companies or even small companies to you, take advantage of them, press the people that come. Don't be scared to ask the hard questions, because if you're going to, throw your hand up or, get in the ring, it's good to know what you're stepping into, what the company culture is.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to sort of open questions up in the chat. If anyone has additional questions for our panel, for the group, feel free to pop it in the chat. And if any of our panelists have questions for each other to start us off, feel free as well. Any initial? Okay. I'll start off with one that I know has already partially been answered, but someone asked about, would you say with how it's easier to learn skills online, do you see many interns without college degrees, or do interns with college degrees still surpass those without? And as was pointed out, some internships do require that you're in college or a recent graduate of a university, so keep that in mind. However, that shouldn't be a barrier for you if you're applying for an entry-level position. A lot of times you'll see a degree requirement or equivalent experience. But I think that's a great question in terms of trying to learn skills online. Do any of our panel have kind of answers on tips for learning skills online, or things you've seen as equivalent experience for those that aren't in an internship?
I would say I learned everything related to my career. I learned off of YouTube, Google, and even now, especially in technology, you constantly have things breaking. You constantly have to run to Google, and they don't teach you that in the degree program. You have to run to Google and say, hey, this is what happened, this is what broke, and see if anybody else has something similar. So I definitely would say I think YouTube might start having to give out degrees soon. Like they teach us everything, honestly.
Yeah,
Great.
I would jump to. Do you want to go, Lauren?
I just said great.
I was just going to quickly piggyback off of that and say online resources have been so incredibly helpful for me since I was an intern, and honestly throughout my career thus far. I was in a liberal arts program, so definitely learned how to read and write and critically think, but we didn't have classes on Excel. So that was one of the things that I dug into pretty deeply when I got into my role, because that was quantitative heavy and just data analysis heavy. So that was something that online resources taught me. And then recently, at the beginning last year, about March, I enrolled in some online courses to learn more about just strategy and business strategy as a whole. So got into economics and accounting and business analytics, and that ended up helping me in my new role when I switched over to Disney streaming services. So online resources have been incredibly helpful.
And just to like reiterate what Shannon already said, YouTube is the best free resource out there. When I was in college, Final Cut Pro was the standard for editing, but not everybody uses Final Cut Pro. So I learned how to use Adobe Premiere, InDesign, Photoshop, After Effects, all of that. I didn't learn in school. I learned YouTube. If I got a new DSLR camera, I ran to YouTube to learn how to use it. If I got a tripod that I didn't understand how to work, I ran to YouTube. It's like, and you can add that to your resume. Once YouTube has taught you how to do it, I put on my resume, like efficient with DSLR camcorders, efficient with editing softwares, Final Cut Pro, Adobe, Avid, all of them there at your disposal. So even now being in high school, if you know that there's these technical skills that I need to learn how to do to work in this industry, go ahead and start learning now. It's free.
Not to kind of be like a treadmill, but just adding on to what Candace said about adding that to your resume, something I would say that I would really recommend is try to do a lot of personal projects. So especially if you're learning something off of YouTube, try to find something that you're passionate about. Let's just say if it's, these bottles here and you wanted to really learn how to use Photoshop, try to do a project related to making these bottles change colors or different things like that. And then, build yourself a little website or put it on, some other type of website like ArtStation or anything else related to that media, and then link that in your resume. So I'm big on that. Like anytime I do any type of small project, especially when I have to learn things I've never done before, I always do like something small and link it in my resume or my cover letter and say, hey, this is something I actually did using that skill. And you'd be surprised how people actually, recruiters especially, really do look at that stuff.
Like, I know, sorry, I feel like I'm still with you, bringing it back around. Like on that point, a big thing for me when I was learning was a lot of internet, finding people that worked on the films or worked on whatever medium that you actually are trying to get into. So I would end up looking at artists that worked on some of the Pixar Disney films and end up Googling their website. And then you could kind of cross-reference that they kind of were using this as inspiration and this videos as kind of a tutorial in a way. And that kind of helps to build your library of what you're able to kind of call on as to make yourself better when you're trying to get into creating things in general. So yeah.
And another question. I know we do have a resume and workshop coming up after this. So, I think those are some great resume tips. But someone also asked, how do you start a networking conversation with someone?
Okay. So I am okay. So networking from there's a lot of different ways you can go about networking because there's different types of interactions that you can have when you're networking. For animation and my kind of networking, a lot of it is there's a combination of if you don't have the resources and the connections to be able to reach out to know a recruiter or an artist on a personal level, them. It's a lot of trying to kind of cold email and really just trying to put yourself out there because at the end of the day, if you don't put yourself out there, you're never going to get heard and no one's ever going to see you just because it's just the nature of how things are. And then the other part of that is the type when you do have those relationships, but you're kind of nervous to talk to people because I know that is a big thing for a lot of people is putting yourself in a position where you could potentially fail, because it's scary to like put yourself out there, and you might get rejected. You might not get a response back from an email. But one of the biggest things I can impart onto you is just really just trying, even if it's just a sentence, like just trying to put yourself out there, because like, and remembering that recruiters and people that work at these companies are also people too, and they've also been in your shoes at the end of the day. Like, we all started out as a high school, college student wanting to get into the industry, and like we all have similar backstories, and it's just as long as you just try your best.
And, Candace, did you have something you wanted to add?
You can go ahead.
All right. I was going to say, really, it does depend on who you're reaching out to as well. So I've had interactions with people who are like CMO level of companies, who, you know, like top 10 people in companies that you really don't talk to that often. And I've had to just say, okay, if I'm meeting with this person, I have to value their time, because they don't want to sit and really lollygag a lot. And with that being the case, I'm like, okay, if I have a goal with this conversation, and the goal is, hey, how can we start integrating games in? I have, you know, built myself a portfolio of projects that I can just go. I have it in my hand where when I go to the meeting, go early, be on time, but always go early. And, you know, just get yourself mentally prepared. I have my stuff ready to just sit down and say, hey, this is what we did. Could we do something with you all? And that was how I approached that. Now, I've had other interactions where it was more on a personal level. So especially at my college, knowing I was a graduate from there, and it'd be more like a family environment, I reached out to somebody who, again, was pretty high, but I reached out via LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is a very, very helpful tool. But don't just reach out to people to just say, hey, can I get a job? Like, try to actually interact with them, like some posts, comment on things. You know, even if you post a picture and you just, you know, tag them and just say, hey, I'm not asking for anything, just wanted to show you something I built, because I thought it was pretty fun, a pretty fun experience. But reaching out to people on LinkedIn is a lot more casual. So it's more, hey, would you have time to just grab a coffee and chat for a minute? I'm trying to actually build my network. And people are not afraid of that word, network. Like, if you tell them, hey, I'm just trying to network, or I'm trying to add more people to my business circle, if you want to call it that, don't be afraid to say it. And the worst thing somebody could say is no. I mean, honestly, that's the worst thing. Or you get ghosted. I've been ghosted before in that world, where I've reached out and people just don't give me the time of day. And it's like, hey, move on to the next one. So that's definitely going to happen. But don't be afraid, because had I been afraid to reach out to the marketing team, I wouldn't be here, because I wouldn't have had confidence to say, okay, we could work with Marvel or work with different companies on public facing stuff. It would have just been, hey, I'm in my little bubble building games for like 10 people. So
I would just say, in this virtual landscape that we're all living in, people are more accessible than ever before. Now you can network, you can set up Zoom or Skype or whatever you use with anybody around the world that is working in your industry. And it's as simple as sending them a message on either LinkedIn or emailing them, telling them what your interests are. I set up a Zoom link for this date. Let me know if this works for you. And your foot is already in the door. No longer do we have to drive to coffee dates or try to get an appointment to meet with somebody in their office. My home is my office now, and I can meet with people whenever I need to. I think even though we're all working in our industries, we're all still trying to network. We're all still trying to meet new people and grow our careers and move forward. So I think even now it's like easier to do.
One quick thing I'd add there, very, very quick. Don't discount the power of your existing network. So family, friends, teachers, coaches. There are lots of people in your circle now. And as you go to college, there'll be people in your personal circle who can, maybe they're not the ones who can get you the internship, but they might know someone who they can connect you with, who then can get you into a space with someone who might be able to help you. So don't discount those relationships too, because it's really powerful when you already know someone and they're invested in you.
Yeah, absolutely. This whole panel feel like if you are seeing them here at this event, then you already have a nice entry point to reach out. We're at time, so for our audience, if you need to jump into another panel or session, please do. And we have more, we have resume workshop happening right after this. I'll take a little bit, few extra minutes, because I would love for our panel just to end with super quick. What's something you wish you could have told yourself, your high school self, back when you were stressing about, what to do next, or maybe it was in middle school. Maybe you're more stressed out in middle school about it. Middle school's rough. But yeah, any reflections on what you wish you knew then to share?
I would tell myself, don't feel pressured to pick a major right off the bat if you're not sure. You can actually start college without declaring a major. So give yourself that time to feel out and see what you want to do. You have time.
I would say two things. First is take a really long, deep breath and it's all gonna work out. It's okay. Relax. I put a lot of pressure on myself in high school, so I would tell myself not to do that to the extent that I did. But the second is something that I always tell myself now is lean into discomfort. And I wish I did that more when I was younger, and that very few things are truly going to be fatal. So take a chance, try something new, challenge yourself. It's usually going to lead to great things if it doesn't feel that way in the moment.
I think I kind of been saying this a lot already, but failure is always a part of the journey, and I think it's what defines you, because it's how you come back from that is what's really going to define what your story is and how you're able to get to where you are. And never discount that the little things that happen like on day-to-day basis, those are all part of your journey and your story, and make sure to look at those in different ways, because it might help you in the long run.
A combination of things. So first of all, you're gonna fail. So just be prepared for it, but learn from each experience that you have. And definitely as you start getting older, going through these experiences, start thinking about your finances and how you want to save money. Because like when I got into the career, my career, I wasn't thinking about that. I was like, hey, living a good life. But looking back now, it's like, hey, try to keep debt minimal. Don't focus on things that don't really matter, like, the clothes, the cars, all of that stuff. Like really just dedicate that money to your future. Like you can buy new tech, new computers, new software, all types of stuff. So that'd be all I have.
Yeah, thank you all so much again. Thank you all to everyone in the chat. And I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their late afternoon or evening. And we'll be back here tomorrow with some of our panelists again. So good night, everyone.